Welcome to the Fivefold Food Podcast, hosted by Dr. Robert F. Dial, where ministers receive the spiritual nourishment they need to succeed. The Word of God declares, and he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. Prepare to receive revelation, wisdom, and insight to empower your ministry for victory. Now, let's eat.
Praise the Lord. God bless each and every one of you. Welcome to Fivefold Food. I'm your host, Dr. Robert F. Dow. I'm so delighted that you're here with us for another exciting podcast. I want to encourage you, wherever you are listening to this, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, be sure that you do subscribe. So each Thursday when we release a new episode, you'll be able to get the updated episode as well. Be sure also to go in and you'll find a place where you can leave a review. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us how you're enjoying the podcast. All of that helps in the algorithm so that Spotify, Apple, they'll push this podcast out. They'll promote it so more people will know about it. So we appreciate your review on that. Also, if you look in the show notes, you'll be able to get a transcript of our time here together today. We believe it'll be a tremendous blessing unto you. Also, you'll find some other links if you look in the show notes so you can get some of my other resources that we pray that'll be a blessing to help you in your fivefold ministry. Our endeavor here is to help serve up the word of God for the fivefold minister so that they can eat well and excel. Today, I'm joined again by my good friend, Dr. C.P. Cornelius. God bless you, Pastor C. Welcome to another podcast as we do this thing together.
Yes, sir. Bless you, sir. Glad to be here, man. Looking forward to it.
Man, I am looking forward to the conversation as we're going to be dealing with. We've been dealing with, in our previous podcast, we've been dealing with the subject of mentorship. And so today we want to continue in those same lines and talk about lessons for ministry mentors and mentees. You know, and I thought about this, Pastor C, as we often say, there is revelation in our conversation. And so that's why I'm so glad that we put it in our heart that we're going to make this time because we're always conversating. We're always talking just to begin to cut the camera on so that we can let others get in the room and learn about it. And so I'm excited about this conversation. You know, I was thinking about it and before we went on air, and we just talked briefly earlier today that I think there's a real need for men to have this conversation because many times ministry mentors, there's some things that they need to be taught, some things that they need to teach the mentor. But if they don't know that they need to teach those things or share those things, then they won't. And the reason they don't, because nobody ever taught them.
Yeah.
Then at the same time, there's some things that the mentee needs to want to learn and need to learn. But again, Pastor Steve, they haven't been taught and haven't been trained. I think many times we take it for granted that the mentee should know what they want to know. They might know some things they need to know, but there's some things in some conversations, some areas of pull that they're not even aware that they need to have. And so when we had this conversation, what comes to your mind? I'm just I put this. I want you to begin to share what come to your mind when you think about this. But what I thought about before we begin to record, Pastor C, this has been a very, I was just texting you, been a very busy day. Had to get some things done with my vehicle, and we had a time, a plan that we were going to record. We weren't able to do it that time, and I had some things going on with my vehicle, and one thing went, another thing went, and so, it's kind of almost like on a banana peel that we ran in here to do this podcast. And bless all of you that are watching on YouTube. Be sure that you do subscribe as well. For all of our video watchers, be sure you subscribe so you can get all the podcasts. But I was just thinking about it as I was coming in to cut on my camera and to do it. I was thinking about how busy my day has been with us trying to get ready for this podcast, and you said, well, Dal, maybe we'll do it. We'll do it another time if we can. But I'm like, hey, I got this going on. We need to do this podcast, and you got some things going on. Then it hit me. I thought about, what is the lesson? What's the lesson? Is there even a mentorship lesson? Is there a lesson in how hectic my day has been, how busy your day has been, and we're up against it to do this podcast? I begin to think, like, is there a lesson for mentees, or is there a lesson for mentors? And I'll if you got some things I want you to begin to share as we talk about this.
I think one thing I hear in this is that a mentor need to teach or share with the mentee is that time management is very important, because what you want to be able to do is maximize your time. Time is one thing money you can't buy time. And time is something you can't get back. So you want to maximize your time. So what I think about, even when you're in the mentee is in the presence of the mentor, you want to maximize that time. So a lesson to be taught is the importance of time management.
Now help us see, how we do it when we're always talking. That's why we wanted to, that's the nature of our conversation.
Right.
I'm questioning, and we go back and forth. Well, tell me how you pulling this from our day. I get it. Help us with that. Why did you set time management? What all we've been through today?
If I didn't manage my time, I wouldn't be sitting here now. See, if I took for granted the importance of time and being able to manage it, I couldn't do this. I got something bigger coming up after this. I'm on a time schedule in doing it. I manage my time, and because I manage my time, the next meeting that I'm finna go into, I'm already prepared. So another thing I hear in this is preparation. That you also understand the importance of preparation, because in your day, you never know what's going to go on in that day to change some things. So if I already have my preparation together, I'm good to go if something else end up bumping my time. So I think that's so very important, time management. So that's why I say that, and that's what I see in it, because time management keeps me ready to flow. I can flow a lot easier when my time is proper. When I got the time, I don't have to rush it because of preparation. And sometimes what we do, you're talking about something need to be taught. I thought about some G's. For example, the glory. What you mean the glory? The anointing. Oh man, I got the glory, I got the anointing. But you also have to understand, with that anointing, you still need preparation. You can easily sit back and say, I'm going to just do it from the hip. I'm going to just do it. I don't really prepare. I'm waiting for the Lord to just give it to me. And that's true. It's times when it come that way. But you should always have time where you have preparation. And therefore, that need to be taught to the mentee. That preparation is important. Managing your time is important, because you don't want to waste any time, because you can't get it back.
I think that's good. When I thought about it, that didn't come to me now because I didn't see a lesson in it. But, I thought to look at it, is there a lesson in this? And that's part of the lesson, that mentors and those that walk at certain levels, they are intentional about always looking for lessons.
Aha, that's good, man. That's so
they
true.
Look for it. It's not
That's
just
true.
like it's on top of the surface that is easily, some lessons are easily there, but just in it, that whole thought process, is there a lesson in it? And I didn't see one. I was driving back. I let you know, hey, we'll be up on in a few minutes. We're up against, some time constraints. But that's one lesson in it, that mentors and mentors and those that are successful in some areas, they're always looking for lessons.
That's true.
They're looking for them. And if you look, you'll find.
Right. Now, looking, what comes to my mind, God, is that means you have to do some digging. So when I'm in the presence of my mentor, I'm trying to dig. I'm looking to see what I can learn as I watch that mentor, as I see something. What's the lesson for me in it? And I think as a mentor, you need to show the mentee that there is times when your time is a problem. And because there's such a demand on your time. And you don't want to waste time.
See?
You follow what I'm saying? And then
this is good.
Sometimes, man, you have to redeem the time.
Oh,
you have
this
to
is
redeem
good.
the time. So
This
I don't
is
want to
good.
waste my time, but yet there's a demand on my time. So now another word come to mind that I think needs to be taught to mentees, man. To mentees is balance.
Well, you hold up. Let me, before you turn that page, I want to hit that because you hit a good thing. You said a few gems. See, you said one, you wouldn't be here without time management.
Right.
So that's something, some opportunities, some things we could miss. See,
That's good.
We miss it. And it's not because, well, they messed up the vehicle and this person did this and that did that. All those things happen and stuff on your end. No, the root of it is you didn't do a good job of managing your time because you had no room for things to go wrong.
It's good.
Because you didn't have the proper preparation.
There we go.
And so you some things we could miss. And on the practical things with that, look, listen, because of time management, I had some things already done when I was in another city, waiting on them to do some things. I was able to get some things done for even and that's why we go behind the scenes. You often say that thing. This is the whole thing with the podcast. Many times people just see what happens. We very well could have did this podcast. We had a general idea and we knew the direction we wanted to go in the podcast. We could have went into that direction, Pastor C, not dealt with all the background stuff that happened. How my day, the podcast, coming in on a banana peel, no one would have known that. But I believe, like you always say, the learning is with the fivefold food, and especially with mentors and mentee, you get the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes, sir.
Realize the value of that, to dig, like you said, for the stuff that everybody else don't get.
That's correct.
And you dig with your questions, the background. And what we're doing, we're giving them background so they can have a better appreciation. So before we got here, see, there's some things in the setting up of the podcast I did on my phone before I got to my computer. Why? That's a level of preparation. I knew, hey, if I have time to do it, let's get some stuff done. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. I wasn't thinking about it, but as you're saying this, really, we're able to do a lot because of good time management practices, learning how to do things and not waiting till the last minute, foreseeing things. And I think that's so important. So I wanted to say that before we turn the page, because that was so good when you said about the time management and this, because again, Pastor C, this is so good. If we didn't disclose all of this, they wouldn't be able to have a level of appreciation to get the learning, like you said, that many times with your mentor, your leader, or anybody that seems to be doing anything effective, to doing something on a great level, they have great time management. They just don't talk about it. They just show up, do what they're supposed to do. But if you don't have the background, you don't know that you need to get good at that skill as well. And that's why I think that's so important when you brought that up, that we have to manage our time, because there's so much on our time. See, there's things I got something coming up after this. Then I got something else going on. So many things, but because of the managing our time, we can do it all. But sometimes we can make it seem easy. And if we don't talk about this, then mentors don't look for this, because this would not have been our conversation, that we have to manage our time to do the podcast, to do what you got to do later, to do what I got to do. And mentees, they miss those lessons because they don't even have a clue of the importance of time management, because we just do it but don't talk about it. Is that making sense? What are you hearing in this, Pastor? We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, so let me tell you, though, what you stating that, one of the things, though, when you talk about time and us having to do this, but see, this come in time. We wasn't always where we at right now. So when you brought up the point about oftentimes that mentee or others might see what happened instead of coming, like I always share with you, bite stage. At one point, I couldn't invite you bite stage because I didn't have my time management together. See, and so for me, I can't stand clutter. I can't stand when things cluttered. So I have to have preparation because now I can clearly think, and I believe I can tap into the Spirit of God more clearer when my mind is clear. And what helped me get a clear mind is managing the time that I have. All I got is now, man. All I got is now. So I don't want to waste that. And there's such a demand on that. So the other thing I think ended up happening for me is, and I think mentors should share with mentees, is I'm looking to make the most of my time. So what I mean by that, we had one particular time that we was gonna get together. So after that time wasn't gonna work, immediately I was trying to fill that time in what I can do to get me prepared for not just my next thing after this, but guess what? I went to looking into tomorrow now. Okay, Lord, if I'm here tomorrow, I need to go on and get this out of the way. So now I'm not wasting no time. So now I'm not sitting on edge. Wait, dial that, man. I'm wasting my no.
You waiting on me to see when we gonna record the podcast.
Yes.
You redeem the time.
I redeem the time. So now as I go into tomorrow, Lord, spare my life to see tomorrow, I already got some stuff already done. I'm ready to go after moving that. So oftentimes, man, it's so important we do talk about it because I'm on the go. And I'm moving. And so with me moving, so oftentimes people do say that, dog, Pastor C, it look like you just, man, it don't take nothing for you to do it. You don't understand all my work behind stage before you see me out front. The preparation, the things that I'm doing prior to it, so I don't waste my time.
I think that's so good. And that's a lesson for go both ways. When we bring it for put it like I tell Pastor Kobe, we put it where the goats can get it. Because it's down on the low. We put the cookies on the lower shelf. Right. We don't want to put them up too high.
Right.
This help mentors to know these are things, lessons of time management. Hopefully you've mastering this skill, you're doing better, that you pass on that along to those that you're mentoring and whatever level, how it works for you. Mentees to learn to pull those lessons, how they're able to do with the kids and with this and with that. And those are some things you need to be trying to learn, lessons that mentees need to learn to try to pull out. And I said another thing, what I saw a lesson in this, Pastor C, when I was thinking about it, a lesson. Part of the lesson too is, and we won't be able to deal with it in this podcast, but we'll probably deal with it later, is that I even have a friend that I can bounce stuff off. And not only just a friend, but a friendtor that I even can ask him. And these are the things, the conversations we have. We're not just doing this because of a podcast, but right, that's correct. A normal question I would ask you, like, see, what's the lesson in this, man? Correct. What's something that we could learn in this? You know correct. What? And so that's a lesson that for the mentees and mentors and everybody, that you need to actively and prayerfully ask God, if you don't have it, send people in your life, a friend in your life, so iron can truly sharpen iron. And the sooner you begin to have that prayer, look for that, because that becomes invaluable. That's why we're able to do the podcast. This is really 20 years in the making. So many lessons, so many things we've taught one another. And so now by being reflective in this is something I teach. I like to those that I mentor, and that's why we want to have a bigger platform so more people can get in the room and hear it. That you need to be praying that God send a friend. Don't be friend hungry. Don't be a crumb snatcher, but be mindful that I need these people, and God will in his time. And if we're not aware of it, see, when they send them, this is the other part. We'll fumble the moment. We'll mess a good thing up. Why? Because you won't have appreciation for a friend. You're looking for somebody who on a whole nother level, somebody that can throw it and stuff, instead of looking for someone that's an authentic ministry friend. So iron can sharpen iron, you can grow together. So I thought that all of that just hit me. That was part of the lesson in it, just being able to have somebody to dialogue about that situation. I thought that would help mentors and mentees to realize there's a true value. And I say this, and every friendship is different. There's levels to this thing.
That's
And
true.
so like we have friends, I have ministry friends. Some we may talk once a week, twice a week, or once a month. Some it might be when I see you, it's like we catch up where everything's going. So whatever level it on, celebrate that level, be good with that level. But then you want to realize to be aware of the different levels, because there'll be some levels like our relationship that we'll talk more frequently. It's not a down on my other friendship. It just is what it is.
Right.
And this is why we got to teach that, because when God sends those strategic people, if you're not aware of the value of that, Pastor C, you can fumble the moment and you can miss so many things in life God had for you because you fumbled the moment of the people that He sent to you. I don't
That's
know if this
true.
making sense. Just
It,
making
it
sense. We
makes
just having a
sense.
conversation.
But let me share what I hear. That makes sense though. How do you do that down? Humility, man. I hear humility. You got to humble yourself to be willing and respect. Show equal respect one for another, for that friend. But so you got to humble yourself and being willing to say, hey man, I want to bounce this off of you. I'm looking for this. And I think what happens sometimes, one thing I heard you preach years ago, man, matter of fact, up with our bishop, is that the enemy want us to get into isolation. We want to become, if we ain't careful, the Lone Ranger. And so I think we need to teach that to the mentees, that it's important that you foster relationships. In order to do that, you got to be humble. But in what brings on the humility, though, you got to be comfortable in your own self. See, I'm comfortable in myself, so I can allow you to bring something to my table. But when I'm not comfortable in myself, jealousy, all of that can easily creep in. So now I say, you know what, man, I'm better. Man, I rather run by myself, man. I rather run by myself, man. I don't really go down with nobody. Man, I just kind of do my own thing. No, isolation is dangerous, man. You need somebody that can speak in your life, and especially fivefold, because oftentimes someone always pulling for us. They're pulling out of us. So we need somebody to pour back into us. I mean, and I'm down this me, man. But one other thing that make a difference, another pastor can feel another pastor. So it's things I can share with you. You can feel it because you're a pastor, like I'm a pastor, that I feel like others cannot feel that. You know, they don't feel it. And so my other leadership around me here at the church, my other guys might not feel me because they're not a pastor. So I got a pastor friend in my life and a mentor to me. But that all requires humbling yourself and having respect, equal respect one for another.
And that's the term we call friendtor, meaning that it goes from we're on the same level.
Yes.
And that's the friend, the iron sharpen iron. But then there's sometimes where you're in that particular conversation, that particular thing we're doing with, you're on a higher step. Because in order for oil to flow, it got to be up at a higher place. It don't flow on the same level.
That's correct.
So that's the humility. And then, but then it'll change. Then sometime it'll be, I'll be on the high step, and now you'll let me pour into some of the things. So that's what becomes the friendtor.
Yeah, that's
sometimes
good.
You might just have a mentor. That means it only going one way.
That's
but when it's correct. A friendtor, it goes both ways.
And that's good because see, I expect more of my friend to jump in the foxhole with me. My mentor might not, but my friend. Now, Robert, the friend, will jump in the foxhole in that foxhole with me. I'm going through. Now, Robert, the friend, will come in. But then it's Robert, the mentor, that pushes me to do what I'm doing right now, man. Because this wasn't my thing. As you know, I said, nah. Hey, but you push.
Yeah.
And what you did, you pulled out of me that I didn't realize was in me, or I didn't want to allow it to come out.
Go both ways.
You pulled it. You pulled it out. You pulled it out. See, so
But
that's you function as a mentor because I look up to you in that area. You got that gift. You're able to do it.
but
But at the same time, you the friend. Cause man, I don't be in some situations, man. Had to throw up my hands, man. And you was there. You was there,
see,
man. Just quickly, man. Just allow me to, man. I can remember. I mean, kudos to you, man. I for this friendship. And when we talk about the difference in the two, man, I remember I had a rough 1 week, man. Rough. That one Wednesday, I lost my mother-in-law. And then the following Sunday, I lost my number one armor bearer. God, it served me, man. And I had to call you, and man, no expense on me. You flew in, man. You took over for me, man. You flew in. You came in the foxhole with me. You came in the foxhole with me, man. So that's where that friendship came in at.
but it goes both ways. I remember, might have been 2000 and first 89 when we lost a set of twins. And that was a rough season for us, with going through that. And then you brought us out just to not to preach, not to teach, just to let us get away and heal. And so all those things, that's what friends do. And these are conversations that people have because if mentors and young ministers are not aware of it, Pastor C, they'll so much want to try to get up the quote unquote ministry ladder, whatever that means, and nothing wrong with having a progressive mindset, to
Right.
maximize their gift and where God want to send them, but then they won't value relationships, and then they'll get at the end of the day and then they'll be on stages by themselves.
Yeah.
And have nobody that really care. Do you really care about me and not just my gift and what I bring to the table, just by me as a human? And the older they get, they'll begin to realize, and some, if they fumble those moments, then they won't have anybody because everything was a gig. So almost like a preaching gig. You just go here to preach, here to preach, here to preach, here to preach, and you build no authentic relationships. And so you want to be mindful of that. You said something, a pastor can feel a pastor, but see, a prophet can feel another prophet.
Yeah.
An evangelist can feel another evangelist.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? A teacher, and that's why you want those relationships. So these are some things, lessons mentors need to know that they need to be teaching. But I hear this, Pastor C, if they haven't learned these lessons as a mentor, you can't give what you hadn't got unless
Correct.
you go and get it. So if you're not relational, then you won't teach that. And this is why I want to say mentors. That's why mentees, you need to realize that your mentor might not, these are things they need to know. Your mentor might not have everything that you need.
That's correct.
Because they're not God. So there might be some things that they have that you need, but if they don't have everything that you need, then that's why you need to have more. It's good to have more than one mentor. Because if this mentor have not been mentored or been poured into in an area, they won't pour into you in that area. They don't have authentic relationship. If they are a Lone Ranger, they're not going to model that and put that into you. And so that's why you got to realize you might not get everything from your mentor. Be open to eat off different tables and have different mentors that help you in a different area in your life. And I think that's a lesson.
Yeah,
Now,
see,
let's go further. Go ahead, Pastor C.
let me say with that what you just said. So it sounds like what I'm hearing then you're saying that make me more healthy. And one thing our bishop always told us is that it's that healthy church, that healthy relationship. That numbers don't necessarily mean just because you got the numbers is good, but the question becomes, is it healthy? Is it healthy? And when I hear you say that, man, that drop in me, that now you're talking about you need to have healthy relationships. So, and that make you healthy because you're not just taking one thing off the table. You got others there that you would need mentors to help you in different areas. So now I think what I shared with you earlier, down that's where that balance comes. If you need a balanced diet, that's what makes you healthy. A balanced diet. And I think mentors need to say that to mentees, man. That we need to let them know that's so vitally important.
That's true. Having that balance in that, I like that. Where you're healthy,
Yeah.
healthy, because that's what a balanced diet does. You
And
need more than just meat.
I think your relationship is healthy. I think me and you have such a healthy relationship because I'm not trying to pull everything from you. Like you say, you're not God. I got other friends, like what you brought up earlier. I got other friends that I might not talk with as often, but it's other areas that I tap into them for that I don't with you. And that's what keep me healthy and keep our relationship healthy. And I keep the door open where it's not as if, I'm upset with you because you got somebody else that I'm not friends with. But you spend time with them, y'all got different areas. And you the golfer, man. You got guys you golf with. Hey, that's your thing. That's your thing. So and I'm cool with that. It doesn't matter.
That golf keep me humble.
So that's what I mean by that also being healthy yourself and the relationship healthy.
Let's do this, Pastor C. Let's go down so we can help the mentor and the mentee. Things that the mentor need to teach, mentor need to want to learn, and what are some things that hit you? I'll go one. Let's say for the mentee, I think some things they need to learn as a mentee. I think they need, and I just hit two. We'll go by twos or whatever. We'll see how we flow. Maybe two. We throw out two, kind of do a little rapid fire with it. I think mentees need to be mentee in preaching and teaching. I think you need to get mentorship in preaching and teaching. See, because most of the time though, your mentor, they might just be either or, and that's why you can't just look for one person.
So unwrap that for me. Help me to see that.
Teaching and preaching. Jesus went about teaching and preaching and teaching, meaning that you need to learn the skills of how to be an effective teacher of the word. But then you need to learn how to be the skills to be an effective preacher of the word. So one, you might do more than one. It's kind of like, let's put it in the basketball. You may have a dominant hand, you're right-handed, left-handed, but if you're going to be a balanced player, you need to be able to use both hands. You might have one that you prefer, one that you're better in, and let's do another example, basketball. You may be a sharp shooter, like they might say, like a Klay Thompson or somebody else. That's sharp shoot. He can shoot, and that's your dominant thing. But if you're going to be balanced, Klay has to have some ability to put the ball on the floor and go to the rack. He just can't be only that. And so I believe to be balanced mentees, it's good that you have the training and exposure in that. But if you don't have a mentor that ever had these conversations and they just all teacher, all preacher, then that I believe there are some things that you might not know. And that's not a negative. It's just a thing, like these are conversations, Pastor C, that we want to be able to have. The others could be in the room, that mentees, because if their mentor don't bring them into that, if they don't have an awareness of that, then they'll never get that. If they don't have a treacher, so to speak. Every pastor's not a treacher, where they do both. So I think a mentee, and it's not fair to them to look for their mentor to give them that if that's something that they don't do. And so I hope that helped.
That help a lot, but on the other side, that help a lot. But in that same vein, though, I think the beginning, though, is first of all, we need to come to understanding that there's a difference in the two. So I think mentors need to be able to let mentees know that there's a difference in the two, and we can't assume that everybody recognize that there's a difference in the two. And how?
Let me stop you though. And the mentor need to know that themselves. That's a difference.
There's a difference. That's right. Otherwise, you can't help me, the mentee, if you don't recognize that.
So you say, well, how do we know the difference? See, if they look in the show notes, you'll see a link, and you'll be able to look in the show notes. You'll see a link, and on my link, you'll see a book that I wrote called "Foundation for Ministry Longevity," and I deal with that. I kind of lay out somewhat the teaching between preaching and teaching. It's a free resource, and so if you don't have that, I value that. I kind of lay out in that so you can kind of get an idea of the difference between preaching and teaching. So be sure you get that free resource to help you in that, that we kind of go into that. So that's
Yeah,
good. And we will deal with that in later podcasts too as well, Pastor C.
Yeah, because if I get loud right now, people could note that as I'm preaching.
Yeah.
So another time, another day, we'll deal with that.
Yeah, you're right. So I think that what's one or two you'll throw out then, and we'll be able to, and this is the whole thing in the podcast, so we can kind of deal with that to help mentor them in that we become that mentor in the fivefold food in that. What's some other areas? One or two you would say?
The importance of family and money.
So mentors need to teach this, and mentees need to want to learn this, because I think it goes both ways. Whatever we throw out, it does go both ways, doesn't it, Pastor C?
It go both ways. It goes both ways. I think that we need to understand the balance.
You said family and money?
Family and money.
Help us. Why?
Because I think that I once heard stated it, but they was talking about, let's say, a mega church. Why have a mega church but a storefront family or marriage?
Now, so are you throwing stone at the storefront, man? We might have some storefront pastors, some storefront leaders. What's wrong with the storefront? What are you throwing off on the storefront? I was started. That's why I cut my teeth at in the storefront. Literal storefront. Are you hating on the storefront? See?
No. What I'm stating is that we seem to put so much in trying to be mega, and we step on the storefront, and our marriage become like storefront instead of us recognizing this where we at now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we so busy be trying to become bigger, that we overlook. We look down on the marriage or the family. We put it behind. Mm-hmm. It's not a priority because I'm busy right now. So, but I do think that, once again, that's my word, that there's a balance there. And I do think you have to look at what season you're in. That's important, that mentors need to teach mentees that every season is not the same season. So there was one season in my life where I spent more time. I never missed any events that neither one of my kids was having. And then I end up raising me and Frenchie end up raising also my nephew. But I never missed any time not being there, so that they ever look back. Because some you taught me a long time ago. Here we go about this mentor friendo deal. When I remember this always would run across my mind, and I started teaching it to guys that I mentor. You always say, see, you don't want on Thanksgiving, y'all all sitting around the table, and your children end up saying, what are you talking about? You wasn't there for me. You care more about the church. So there was a season where I was there more with them. And to be honest with you, they got more priority than the church did. But then that thing shifted. It was a point then when I was coming out the lawn, I was traveling, because now my kids had got of age and I was balancing it where I can be both places. Then I felt as the Lord was shifting to my season, more focus where ministry became my dominant hand. I put it that way. So I think they need to be taught, because I think there's a balance, because I think we can go one way or the other and get off balance. Some would emphasize that, oh, you wrong. Family should always be first. And I'm not saying family shouldn't be, but I'm saying based on the season you in, it's more time. Of course, I'm empty nest, man. I'm empty nest. So I do spend more time at Peaceful. I take in certain engagements now. I travel more now. I preach out more now because I'm empty nest. But it was at one point, man, I couldn't take anything on a Saturday because my son played college ball. So I needed to be in the stands.
I like that.
But, so it depends on that season.
Family, and family,
and the money.
And hit the money. I hear you. What's the thing with the money?
The money is, we've been talking about balance. You better know how to balance the checkbook. I know somebody that can help you balance, because if you don't get the money right, you're going down. You got to know how to manage the importance of money, or get somebody around you that can manage it. Because one of the things that bring people down, our bishop always would tell us that the gold, GOLD, you better know how to deal with the gold. That represents the money. It's the gold. The girls are taking hold of God's glory. Those are the three things that'll bring you down. Mess around with God's glory, mess around with the girls if you don't know how to deal with temptations and dealing with that, and not knowing how to handle the gold. That's important. So I think you have to take the time to show that and understand what works best for you financially. Don't be moved by what other people driving, what other people living in, when you still in you still in your faith stage. It ain't materialized yet.
Yeah.
It ain't materialized yet. I call it closing your eyes. You at one point where your eyes are closed. We walk by faith and not by sight. My eyes closed. I still see it. It's just that it ain't manifested. Then you get at a state where your faith, where your eyes is open. Meaning what? Now I can see clearly. I see this. I know I can get this without it taking me out.
That's good,
I ain't trying
man.
to impress nobody. So I think money.
Those conversations. Yeah, you know what hit me with that too?
What's that?
Not only the managing of it, and that's we things that need to have conversations. We will at later podcast. Not just the managing of it, the making of it, the balance of it, the right mindset of it. Is it them charging for products, honorariums when they go places, having people come in, what's good, what's not, what's acceptable, should they get anything, are they charging for the gospel if they have an honorarium? Just having mentorship, having these kind of conversation with fivefold ministers, I think those things that mentors, if you know these things, these are some things you need to talk about that you won't get this on Sunday. And so I think all of that.
How to make a difference and a dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. Because some get focused on making a difference. Some don't think making a dollar is wrong, but these are some things we need to mentor. Let's throw some more out. What's some other ones? I said prophetic, and let's say altar work. That kind of go in the same thing. So let's just say prophetic, and the prophetic. You need mentorship in that. Definitely, if you said, "Well, I'm not a prophet. That ain't my office." Well, one day, if you are listening to this, if you become a senior pastor, a leader, you're gonna have these ministry gifts in your body. So if you have no training, no mentorship, no learning, you're going to be ill-equipped to help govern those gifts, not control, but govern. So you need to have some that. Let's say, well, I'm not going to ever be a pastor. Well, you're going to work with other ministry gifts that are there. So if you're part of the fivefold, we call it cadre or minister, and you have no training, no development, you don't know how to effectively relate to those gifts, then also there's a dimension of the prophetic that I believe every minister should be able to move in. I said a dimension. We won't have time to unpack it, but those are some areas that I see. Anything you want to just say? We can't dig into it before I know you got to go, Pastor C, but anything you want to just say in that just to kind of help why this is important?
I've been saying some G's, right? The other G I had, you just spoke it, but in a different way. My other G was govern. I think you need to teach mentees how to govern whatever it is that's going on in the ministry that they're over. Even like you say, you might not be pastor now, but you're flowing in something. You got to know how to govern it. If you don't know how to govern it, you don't know how to guide or govern somebody, you're going to guide them.
That's a bar right there. Said it. Now let's rewind. I know we can rewind on the podcast, but say this again. You dropped a bar right there, man, of God.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, if you don't know how to govern or guide people, you're going to guide them. You're going to guide them down, and the next thing you look up, they're going to be gone.
Woo!
They're going to be gone. God. Because you guide them because you didn't know how to govern it. Because you know what? You weren't open up Open up enough to learn about it, to know more. Grab as much as you can. So, no, I might not be a prophet, but I need to know about that so I can know how to govern that so I don't guide somebody that got a gift. And they say, now I got to be gone. So you mentors better teach that. That all of us do not, it's 5 fingers down. All of us we don't have all 5 thumbs, man. It ain't all 5 thumbs, man. It ain't all 5 ring fingers, man. Each one of them different gifts. Each one of them different. Our hands, each one of them different. So I got to know how to govern this. I got to know how to work this.
Good stuff, man. And they need to know, like you say, and govern it. Another word for govern, what we're meaning, that's why prophetic people feel smothered and they can't breathe in ministry because they don't have leadership. You have to be taught leadership. That's you need to be mentored as a leader, because many times if you're a 5-fold gift, you become a de facto leader. So you're going to be leading in the church. People are going to look to you. They're going to give responsibility to you. You're going to be platformed. So people are going to aspire to you. So you'll be leading, whether, say, in some type of ministry, auxiliary, or department. But so if you never develop those skills, so you need to be developed as a leader. So as a mentee, you need to seek to learn. You need to seek to learn leadership. So you need to seek to learn those things. So I think, but if nobody ever taught you that you realize is important, you don't seek to do that. And so I think that's one. And then I would put with that, before we get ready to close, apostolic as well. Because see, when we're talking about the gifts, you need to have some mentorship, some teaching. That's why we're going to serve up 5-fold food, so that you'll have an awareness of what apostolic ministry is. Not that so that you could be one, but there's a dimension of it that you still should flow in, a dimension of it. And so, but if you've never been exposed to it, to know it, you can lack in your ministerial development because you never have a concept. So I said leadership. And I'll give one more before we get ready to go, and you can hit this. See, people skills.
Oh.
Ministers need training and development in people skills, because if you don't have people skills, a lot of things will get killed.
Woo! I like that.
What I mean, people skill. See, and this is the thing. I didn't learn, Pastor C. To my detriment, in some phases and stages of my ministry, I thought I had people skills, but some I didn't. You need to be taught how to deal with disgruntled people.
Yes.
Disrespectful people.
Yes.
Divisive people that divide.
Correct.
Dominating people that got dominating spirits. People that disappear. You can't find them. They ghost you. Come on. People who get it done. People
who disappoint you.
Oh, that's so good, man. We're working them deeds. How do you deal with when you're disappointed? And what some leaders do, they put fences up. And they say, I'm not getting hurt again. No one will ever get close to me again, because the last ones that hurt me, they won't get close. So you got senior leaders who won't let people get close. Then you got ministry people who they sit back they like to be in the trees. They'll even attend churches that they'll be in the trees, so because they don't want to get hurt again. So, man, you real good. But we got to be taught that.
People who distance you, they get to a point they distance you now. They distance themselves from you. You got to know how to deal with those kind of people. That's correct. But something else you've been sharing a lot on lately, man, also is important. You got to know how to deal with people when it's time for them to depart from you.
Oh man, we didn't practice this. I like, man, somebody need to y'all need to text us, even all them. I love them D's, man. Pastor C, we're gonna go back and we'll send the transcript. We're gonna have to do a podcast on them D's. Are they some deadly D's or destructive D's? I think we need to deal with those D's. Disappoint you, they ghost you, they down you.
Damaging D's.
They become very
damaging.
I know we're on the end, Pastor C. We're on the end of our time, but man, some of the things I wasn't taught. Well, you taught, I wasn't taught. I fumbled the ball in some of those things. You would see where you fumble. Sometimes in some things, I didn't respond the right way with it. You know what I mean? Sometimes in my ministry, my little heart was broken. You know what I mean? My heart was broken when people departed. They departed, man. It broke my heart.
Right.
Because
And like
I thought we was gonna do this thing forever.
correct. And
Come on, can we keep it 100?
they were just there for a season. They're there for a season. And your growth would
So I should have just known that, right? Because don't we everybody say that? Shouldn't I have just known that? That's common knowledge, isn't it?
No, you say you formed that, but you said that you wasn't taught. Then you asked me, what's the difference between me and you? See, I was raised up in church. I had a mentor that taught me. My previous father in the ministry, who went with the Lord, who pastored me. He mentored me. I remind you, from a little boy up, he mentored me. So I learned. But down where I dropped the ball, what the Lord had to deal with me on is when I was the second man in charge, when I was not pastor, and I flowed more like an evangelist. That's how I preached, that's how I talked, that I was rough. So when I became pastor, the Lord had to show me that you have to shift differently, because now you the shepherd. I was a hiring before, and a shepherd does not handle the people the way a hiring handle the people. And because of that, that's where I dropped the ball. I had to recognize. So now the Lord told me, you the shepherd. You will carry all kinds, dirty, spotted, messed up. How do you deal with all kinds? Before, all you did was preach to them and go on.
And see, as an evangelist, I like that. So they got to know how to flow with that. So we got to help the evangelists too, who have that fire message. Yes. They got to know how to deal with the people.
Correct. And that was my problem. Oh no, I was brimstone and fire, man.
Man,
get it right.
Oh man. As we close this, we wanted you to give the final thought. Man, this has been good. It's been a great conversation. I've enjoyed it with you. What would you say? And this is how we do it anyway. What do you see not just your takeaways, but what do you see the Lord doing in this podcast today? How we've helped our mentors and mentees. What do you think? God does different things in everybody, in different people. What would you say is God wanted to do and model and accomplish in this podcast today?
That is simple, man, but it's powerful to me. And that is that we can never stop teaching or learning as mentors, our mentees. It goes both ways. I think the Lord wanted to show that there should always be fruit on the tree. And I want to share the fruit. I want to share the fruit. Now, you're not going to grow. Nothing grows unless it get rooted. It's not it. So what you mean, see, is that as we're together as a mentor, now I'm the mentor, you're the mentee, I got to get your roots deep. Because roots that's deep will stand strong. So as a mentor, that's my job. As a mentee, I want to make sure I open up, meaning this, I dig around my heart. I open up so you can put stuff in me so my roots can go deep. And I think that's what this do for me. And I think that's the impact it can make on the hearer, the ones that's listening to this. You're trying to go deeper, and you're trying to help somebody go deeper, one or the other. How I'm going to do that? You got to keep teaching them things. And what we share some things that they need to be taught, but you got to stay open to keep learning some things as the mentee.
Wonderful.
Come on, give me some more, because I need my roots to go deep. Because it's the roots that go deep that stand, man. And I leave that down, man. I'm from Florida here, right at my church, right with my church. We got old oak trees that been there forever. I have seen it forever. A car come, speeding, I don't care how fast, hit the tree, hit the oak tree. All it do is just knock a little bit off of it. But guess what? It crushes the car. Why? Because that oak tree roots are so deep down. Now, if they would have caught the oak tree when they first planted it, the car would have ran it over. But after it don't been there a while and get deep rooted, can't knock it down, man.
Wonderful. And that's our endeavor in the fivefold food. that we want to help raise up people to be oak trees that's planted
Yes.
by the rivers of water that cannot be moved. And what I just seen the demonstration, Pastor C, with me asking you that question, it's not planned, it's not scripted. These are conversations that we have, but it hit me. That's part of the prophetic dimension because you flow in the dimension of the prophetic, meaning that when you put a demand and pull on it to see what is God saying at this time in this season for this people, that's a prophetic thrust to put into words what God is doing, what God has done, because it's not a natural thing. So that's when we're pulling on that prophetic dimension. And say, if we don't talk these things, we won't understand how these things flow. And that's because that flow in that apostolic dimension, in that I poured on that prophetic dimension. So now we were able to hear the heart of God for this time. Not just in us, but that was you spoke the heart of God for this time because we put a pull. Thank you, Pastor C, again
Amen.
for just doing what you're doing
Yes,
and
man.
pushing me that we'll begin to do this. Like that, when we gonna do it, man? You know, and I've been saying it for a while, so that we always have these conversations. That's why we'll always do this because we do this all the time, and so that's
Amen.
why we want to always have you on our podcast.
All right, man.
Well,
Bless
to
you.
those of you, final words you want to say before we close out.
No, I'm good, man. Just have a good one, man. I appreciate you, man.
Amen. To those that been with us, we're so glad that you've been on this podcast. Be sure that you do look in the show notes. You should see a course that I've put together to help you, mentors and mentees. Only so much that we could cover in our time together. So that way you can learn step by step how to be an effective mentor. You can learn step by step how to be an effective mentee. So if you look there in the show notes, you should see a link so you can avail yourself to that course. I believe it'll help you. We'll be able to go in more detail, help you come with a strategy. You need to have, like, you'll see a questionnaire. So you'll be able to put something in the mentor hand to get from them. What are you expecting from me? What you can expect from me? So we'll have those templates. So be sure you avail yourself to that. I want you never to forget, no matter where you are, what's going on in your life, God has destined you for greatness. We pray that as you've been on the Fivefold Food podcast today, that you have ate well, and because you've ate well, that you will excel. I believe that you're going to live better, you're going to do better, and you're going to continue to release the brilliance that's in you. God bless you. We look forward to you being with us on our next podcast.
Bless you.